For more information about Gary Cohen and his associates, Alan Bennett and Gene Anthis, you can find it at the website, parolelaw.com. You may also contact them at 512 476 6201.
Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana. Good morning to every nook and cranny around the world. Good morning to everybody receiving the signal from our 100,000 watt transmitter. And did I say that right? 100,000 watt transmitter permeating every nook and cranny to reach those who are still using the FM radio. Welcome to the folks around who are all listening on the internet as well. Good morning, good morning, good morning. MD Manny Rusman on the chat. We are going to have a great show today. But before we get started, let's pass it on to the genios, the geniuses in the studio on Caroline.
100,000 watts blazing across Southeast Texas. It's KPFT Houston. Good morning, Egberto.
Wow, I always like when you do that.
I tell you what, I am pensive today. I am very pensive. I was thinking about that poor kid who tried to assassinate Donald Trump. A momentary lapse of reason in the young life that ended it. They're now... Of course, we're going to know everything about this kid. And I call him a kid. He's 20 years old, or was 20 years old. And so to me, he's a kid. I'm damn near 70. So to me, he's still a kid, still growing up. And dreams and aspirations gone. Momentary lapse of reason, maybe. But we're going to find out everything about him, including the size of underwear that he wore and the type of toothpaste that he used. And now they're already demonizing him in the news media. Some evil child, some misdirected youth. You know, where's the compassion for this kid? Yeah, momentary lapse of reason, killed one person, tried to kill another one. Okay, yeah, misguided, clearly. But what happened? What was he thinking? And what about the family? Not only do they have to wear the badge of grief for this child, you know, they have to live with what he did. This is tough on them. Where's the compassion for them? Why am I not seeing this? Of course, you know, the listeners are going to go, well, you know, he tried to kill former President Trump. Yeah, but he was a human being too, and it clearly had issues. We don't know why. No one's found out why yet, but the family is where my heart is. his dad, his mom, his I don't know if he has any siblings or not, but that's one of the things. That's the badge that they're going to have to wear. They're grieving for their son. They're grieving for what he did. This is awful. And I'm not seeing it in the news media. I'm seeing, oh, he was picked on, he was bullied, oh, he was this and he was that. Yeah, okay. But still, when you boil it all down, he was one of us, a human being. So that's what I'm pensive about this morning.
Hear you, brother. I hear you. Brother Jack,
How are you, Egberto?
I am doing fine, my brother. I'm doing fine. Talk to me.
Well, Trump appointed judges dismiss classified documents case. It's your headline.
Grr.
This is the danger of poor, innocent, persecuted Trump. During his presidency, he made 1,700 judicial appointments, so he has that many judges in his hip pocket. Where is the justice?
Well, he rigged it all up before he decided to do that. It was a rig. He's so screaming about, oh, everything is rigged. Yeah, well, so is our justice system, thanks to you.
And he rigged them.
Yep, he was the rigger.
Well, let me tell you guys. Actually, that's where I intend to start. First of all, today's show, guys, the program name is Democratic Leadership Must Stop Wimping Out an Unqualified VP Candidate. And starting with where Jack left off, the fix is in. But, to just give some notion to what our brother Howard just said, we just have to start bringing back some humanity. Yeah, the young man did an awful thing. He attempted to kill the president, and he did kill another human being and did maim two. Uh, you know, Yesterday, I don't know who watched the interview between the president and Lester Holt. I think that you know that I think the president does look old, etc. But I think the president did well when he got interviewed by Lester Holt. And the one thing that I liked the best about what the president did with Lester Holt is that he pushed back. I was extraordinarily disappointed in Lester Holt last night. Lester Holt, I don't know if you guys remember what I wrote yesterday in the blog about false equivalencies when I told Democrats, you need to go out there and not fall for the false equivalence I knew was coming. And that false equivalence was going to say, tone down the rhetoric. There is only violent rhetoric on one side. Now, speaking about, and I repeat this and I hope people hear this, if the truth that you are telling has a lot of violence in it because you are recounting what the other side is doing, the truth isn't then uncivil or incivil. Because the rhetoric out of Donald Trump's mouth, the constancy is violence, the constancy is ridicule, the constancy is simply tearing you apart. That is how he operates. And Lester Holt himself, who is a registered Republican, showed how they are all coming home to support an existential threat to this country. And folks now are wanting us to say we shouldn't use an existential threat because if you're telling a warped mind that someone is an existential threat to a country, isn't somebody going to attempt to take that existential threat out? Yes, through the ballot box. That is what we are all advocating. When we talk about the election of Donald Trump would be an existential threat, it means those of us who know would say that means don't vote for the existential threat. It doesn't mean to take an AR-15 and go after that existential threat. Let's be clear here. Democrats they will attempt what the media does all the time to create what's called a false equivalence. He said this. Isn't that similar to what he said? Absolutely not. Do not cop to it. The reason they're doing this is so that the evil that Donald Trump represents and that he does and he says isn't called out, for the fear that you will be accused of generating some sort of reaction. Don't fall for it. And that's a blog that I wrote yesterday. That's a blog that I specified yesterday. And I hope people go back and read that. The fact of the matter is the violent rhetoric is coming from the Heritage Foundation, as their president said, we are in for a revolution, but it will be bloodless if, and I'm paraphrasing now, if the left simply sits down and allows us to walk over them. It is the president, the former president, who continuously, from the time he started campaigning, promoted violence of beating up people that try to express themselves, in blowing people out of the park in Washington, D.C., and over and over and over again. If we fall for this, yes, then we will lose. So I think President Biden did a very good job pushing back on Lester Holt, and not only pushing back on Lester Holt, pushing back on the media, creating this equivalency. But I did wish that he had used the word stop the false equivalence. Lester, remember this. And the issue I have with Biden is that he's not quick in retorting, because he could have shut Lester Holt down right away. And he didn't. But I tell you, at least he pushed back. He pushed back. It was, I think Lester Holt was shameful. For those of us who get the directionality of questioning, Lester Holt was a shame, and he made his political his registration as a Republican made it real clear. I want to continue, but I see that the mayor of Houston is on the line, bro. I mean, mayor of Houston, mayor of politics done right is on the line, brother Johnny. Come on in, Johnny, before I continue with the program.
Yeah, before my battery runs out, I forgot to put it on the charge last night, so let me be real quick. You mentioned something really important. You had a misguided youth, right, who's been miseducated by the public school system that has been underfunded, micromanaged by the Republicans for decades. And when you add to that mix a media that is overgrown by monopoly, who only represents the actual agenda of corporate oligarchy and not the working class, and then you tell this person and other people that this country's it is, and they represent the threat to democracy. Well, if you also know and you hear that Republicans are undermining the vote literally by taking over voting machines in the dead of night, by intimidating voters, by erasing voter registrations, that young person might say, well, if this guy's a threat to democracy and to America, how am I going to vote away if my only course of action is voting and I don't know my vote will be recorded? I've got another way to ensure that, the Second Amendment and my gun, and that's what I'm going to do. And he did it. It's not necessarily mental illness, it's desperation. Desperate people do desperate things, and that's all I have to say.
Okay, and sadly, what's interesting, and let's be clear here. This young man who shot the president was a registered Republican. I want everybody to understand it. Don't let the spin start. He was a registered Republican who used an AR-15. These are all right-wing methodologies. In other words, again, those folks that want the best for America, those folks that believe in life, those folks that believe in freedom, those folks that do all of this. Remember, we are not the ones supporting the mass use of AR-15 or the ability for anybody to get an AR-15 at will. That's not the modus operandi of the left. We don't believe in violence. We don't believe in knocking people across the head. That's not that. Those are the things that Trump supports. So when Lester Holt tries to put that on the president, it is shameful. It is utterly shameful, and we should not allow that to happen. When we talk about privilege and getting the pass, a lot of people don't like to talk about certain people having privilege. Well, if what's happening with Donald Trump isn't the height of privilege, how many people can walk off with mountains and mountains of classified information, verifiable classified information in boxes after boxes, and then have a technicality to say, well, we cannot. Remember, Donald Trump didn't get off from this thing because they can recharge him. Instead of being Smith that charges him, they can simply go ahead and charge him again from the Justice Department. Since the argument for dismissing the case is that Smith was not assigned, Jack Smith was not assigned by the Senate. In other words, wasn't confirmed by the Senate, even though the Attorney General has the right to hire anybody to prosecute a case. So understand, this is what you have to understand as well. This wasn't saying that the president didn't act treasonously or illegally. This just said that the person who brought the charges shouldn't have been hired in the first place, which makes no sense. Every other judge and jurisdiction has said the special counsel is a legal assignment in this country. And in fact, it's used to abstract the Justice Department, which is run by the president, to prevent there being a severe conflict of interest. But we'll continue because Joe is on the line. Come on in, brother Joe. Talk to me.
Hey, man. So that's pretty low and pretty despicable of you and your callers, man, to try to turn it around and blame it on Republicans. I tried to warn you a long time ago that your trash rhetoric is inciting violence, right? And here it is, man. Here's the blood on your hands. And
okay, let me stop you right. Hold on. Stop right there. Stop right there. Stop right there. Stop right there. Let's go ahead and start asking the question. Because again, was the young man who shot the president a Republican? Yes or no?
He donated to Act Blue, dude.
I asked the question. I am asking the questions, Joe. We don't want to spin our public here. There are a lot of people listening. We want to be honest. Was the person who shot the president a registered Republican? Yes or no?
I don't know. Was he one of those thousands and tens of thousands?
Sir, it's a yes or no question, sir. Was he a Republican?
Hey,
yes or no?
A closed primary state. Pennsylvania is a closed primary state, and tens of thousands.
Joe, you are saying. Stop, Joe. You are saying, Mr. Joe, please, Mr. Joe, you only spin when you don't have a right answer. I ask a simple question. If you ask me a simple question, I'll say yes or no.
Man, that's all you got, Egberto.
Sir,
is he? Man, that's all you got.
Sir, Mr. Joe, is the man a Republican or not?
I have no idea what he is. I know.
Actually, sir, you do know that he's a Republican. You do. That is dishonest. Sir, that's dishonest. I asked you one simple question. Is Mr. Crooks a registered Republican? Yes or no?
He has vacated the phone line.
Right. Again, you see, let's be clear here, folks. That is what I'm talking about. That is exactly what I'm talking about. They try to spin into a fashion that isn't true. It's not. Telling the truth isn't incivility. telling the truth. That's what they want. They want you to stop being able to tell the truth. And Mr. Joe, or Joe the oilman, just showed a perfect example. He couldn't come out and tell the truth. Mr. Crooks, who shot the president, was a Republican. Not only was he a Republican, but he's a Second Amendment Republican because he believes in AR-15s. And when it came to solving a problem, like folks on the right do, what he did was resort to violence. That's what he learned. Do not attempt to make that something from the rhetoric on the left. Let's go to Anthony. Come on in, Anthony. All right, let's see. I think as soon as Jack comes, that's it. We'll go ahead and get Anthony on the line. Anthony, you're on.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Hello. Okay, I'll try to be quick because I'm driving and I'm on speakerphone. I want to kind of sort of agree with you that, yes, this young man was a registered Republican, but it also came out he contributed heavily to progressive causes. So,
all right, I got you. Let me stop you right there. Again, here's what you just said, sir, and that's misinformation again.
Hold on. No, it's not. Let me finish because, like I said, I'm driving to work and I want to get my point in real quick, and then you can,
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish.
I think this was a troubled young man who didn't know what he wanted to be and saw an out. But I also want to point out to the mayor of Houston blaming Republican underfunding the public school systems in Pennsylvania, a Democrat state. I don't know how Republicans underfund that. Maybe there are school systems that are underfunded, but then why every election are we approving school bonds for billions of dollars for all these ISDs? Where does that money go? How is it underfunded if we're going to keep passing school bonds for school districts? Democrats run all academia all over the place. So what are they doing with the money? I'll leave it
Okay,
at that and I'll let
let
you
me. All right,
go.
I'll answer both of them. Number one, the guy was a registered Republican, and the killer was a registered Republican. Number two, when it comes to whether he's confused or not, I think he was confused, in fact, just as Howard explained. But thirdly, his recourse, because of his ideology, his recourse was an AR-15. That isn't left-wing ideology. That is right-wing ideology. The people who believe in the Second Amendment giving everybody the right to have these weapons of war. That was his recourse. The recourse for a lefty is generally something else because you don't see us just believing in these AR-15s. You don't see our suburban kids picking up an AR-15 or going to a range to shoot and all that kind of stuff. That's not our being. So when we have a problem, that's not how we solve that problem. And that's where I'm getting from. Go ahead, sir.
Egberto, I'm sorry, but brother, if you don't think any leftists or liberals pick up arms, then my friend, you are truly blind. It doesn't take a lot of effort to search. Hold on. You know that there are groups of Antifa terrorists, yes, Antifa are terrorists, members out in the Pacific Northwest training for a revolution, armed to the teeth. Bro, it's not hard to find the video.
Wait a minute. Let me answer. I need to answer that as well because, again, too many people want to associate Antifa. What does Antifa stand for, sir?
These guys, they're literally wearing Antifa shirts. Dude.
No, sir. I asked the question, my dear brother. What does Antifa stand for? That is partial information is dangerous, and that's partial information. Sir, I'm going to tell you what it means. But what I'm saying is let's get educated, okay? Let's do that together. Let's get educated and not allow the side. You have to let me speak.
So go ahead.
Sir, you have to stop and let me explain. Antifa stands for anti-fascist, and yes, it is. These are some anarchists who will pick up arms and do all of that. That's not the left. But what many on the right has tried to do is associate Antifa with the left. Antifa stands for anti-fascist, and these are warriors, anti-fascist. They are not the left. They are anti-fascist. It's just a group of people who believe that folks, that's who they are. So let's get it straight. And again, the last thing that I want to correct you on is it's been shown that a $15 message from when this person was, I think, 17 years old, where he was not legally able to donate to a thing, that a $17 donation went out of, I guess, one of his card with that address. And that said, that's the only thing. When you came on here, you said he was a contributor to left-wing things. That's not true. Let's be truthful in what we're saying. Everything that I've said here is corroborated and truthful. Let's keep it that way. That's what we do here. You don't have to expand on something. Tell the people who are listening here the truth. Antifa stands for anti-fascist, and they're not part of our progressive movement. That's number one. At all. Progressives simply don't behave that way. You will never hear a progressive talking about AR-15s and using all of that, or Second Amendment rights and all of that. That's not what we do. We are peaceful, life-loving people. Thank you very much, Anthony. I got to go to Marlene.
I'm sorry, but you're blind.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Marlene. Come on in, Marlene.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, my friend. Talk to me.
Yeah. Okay. So I am the mother of 6 children. And I've learned over the years that I don't ask them questions that I already know that they know the answer. Now, because with Joe, when you were asking him, do you know he was a Republican? And Joe wouldn't answer the question. They're not going to answer the question, but he knows that answer.
Yes,
so
I do.
I always point as you know, he was a registered Republican. I don't ask him, he knew that. So I'm just going to argue with you. So as a mother of children, I'm like, I don't ask questions that I already know they know the answers to.
Mm-hmm.
I already know the answer. Did you do this? I don't ask, did you do this? I already knew that they did it. So why did you do it? So you kind of got to form the questions, how do I want to put it, that they have to answer. So instead of, he was a Republican, you could have said, why do you think he was a Republican?
Marlene, I get your point. Marlene, let me answer that real quick. I get your point, but this wasn't for me. This was for the audience, because I knew what his reaction would be, meaning untruthfulness in trying to put across. But me saying it wouldn't be good enough. I needed the audience to see that in as much as he knew better, he couldn't say it because it immediately blew up his narrative. Go ahead, my friend.
Well, I think if you would have said, as you know, he was a Republican, then he would have had to come out and deny that he knew that. Right?
That could be. Maybe I can try that. But again, I also wanted the audience to understand that there's nothing truthful coming out of the right, and you can see how they try to spin out the things that don't make any sense. But go ahead, Mike.
So I what I'm saying, they want to play you. So I'm not going to play with them. Okay, we're going to get down to the facts. These are the facts, and I know you know them. So, you can deny that you know them, but then, come on. I mean, that's like Trump not knowing, that anyways,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know the Proud Boys are. Like, come on. And then in the next sentence, you're going to tell me how smart you are.
All right, Marlene, what else do you want to tell me, my dear friend? My sister, what else do you want to say?
That's it.
Thank you very much, Marlene. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Let's go to Jim. Come on in, Jim.
Hello. Yes, you were talking about when he gave to this organization, this, I think it was something about
It-
the bring out the vote or something. What was it?
yeah, it was
But he
it was
gave
it
that.
was a right way thing. Now, Ryan Grimm is trying to find out what exactly he responded to, because that organization that he gave to is a front, and it's a front for collecting money for themselves, not given to these other people. It's a
Well,
front that does all kind of tricks to get your money.
when he gave to that, it was at the beginning of the year. He was 17, and probably I
Right,
guess he was still in high school when he did that.
right,
And then when he registered to vote as a Republican, it was beyond the primary. So he wasn't registering as a Republican to vote for somebody other than Trump. It was after the primary was over with, because it was I think it was about 9 days after his birthday when he turned
hmm
18, which was in September. If you look at the documents on, I think it's CBS
right.
Pittsburgh, and look on the video that shows his graduation picture, that's the one that's got the documents as to when he gave to the organization and when he registered as a Republican.
Right.
So, and another thing nobody's talking about, the Supreme Court recently gave a ruling, which was a 6-3 ruling, that the ATF could not regulate bump stocks. Can you imagine if this guy had had a bump stock on that gun
Yeah, I can
and
imagine.
what that would have caused, and several clips? He could have probably taken out the ATF. I mean, not the ATF,
The Secret
Secret
Service.
Service snipers,
Yeah.
and he could have laid how many bullets into that crowd? It's
Well,
you know, but
this is what look, Jim. I'm glad that you said that. That's the ultimate outcome of bad policy, evil policy, etc. And that is what you get when you get that unknown when you elect these people. It's that simple. I think you nailed it. Suppose he had a bump stock, 6-3 votes from judges appointed by. First of all, 5 of those 6 justices were appointed by presidents who won less than the popular vote. They all 5 of those justices are minority rule justices. They were voted by presidents who got less than the majority of the American people. Think about that.
yeah,
Continue, Jim.
yeah. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day. Let's go ahead and go to Patrick. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Hey,
Good morning, sir.
I'm kind of at a loss. I'd like to first point out that I don't think that there's a whole lot of 20-year-olds on this planet that really can identify one way or the other. They're still figuring themselves out.
hmm
So to assign him to either party, I think is kind of silly. Another thing I think that's really sticking out to me is I'm hearing a lot of the outrage, and I think it is a tragedy, and I'm glad that he did not lose his life. But where were all these people and all the outrage when Gabby Gifford was shot?
Thank you.
And that was much more provoked. I mean, I really don't see where there's people like me are provoking somebody to do violence to another individual. I'd also like to point out that every single time I see one of these upside down flags or black flags, that's a person indicating that if they don't get their way, that they're not going to surrender. They're going to fight till they die. This is the type of attitude that I believe brought around that. And Republicans have an opportunity right now to really rethink how aggressive they've been, because it backfired on them. They know it, and they're just trying to place blame.
Can I stop you right there, Patrick? I want to stop you right there because you just said something genius that I want everybody to understand, right? When you talk about it backfiring, that again, the natural state for resolution, and I mentioned that in my blog, the national state of resolution that they have fomented is my way or the gun way. You think about it. My way or the gun way. Even the folks that have been trastornados, those that have been messed up in the head that went and shoot up places. It's my way or things didn't go my way. So the next thing that I use is a AR-15, something that we are trying to stop the use of, but that they support. So I mean, it is almost like the chickens come home to roost. And then after that occurs, you try to somehow talk about negative rhetoric from the left, which is only describing what you're doing. And the problem I have, Patrick, is so often Democrats fall for it and they back off. This is not the time to back off. This is a time for Democrats and progressives to go out there and call out evil where they see it. It's that simple. Continue, Patrick.
Well, on that note, historically, Democrats seem to apologize for things that they haven't even done, and that does need to
Exactly.
stop.
Exactly. Thank you very much for your call, Patrick. Let's go ahead and go to Donald. Come on in, brother Donald.
Hey, good morning, Alberto. How are you
Talk to me,
today?
my brother. I am fine, my brother. I'm just a little
Okay,
bit trastornado. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I know you're hot. You're hot. What age does the brain fully develop? Just a ballpark.
I have no. Tell me. If I told you, I'd be guessing. Tell me.
They say it's like in your mid-20s, early 20s,
Okay.
mid-20s, right?
Well, then
So
you're gonna
let's
agree
say
with me with a lot of stuff.
Okay, so we're not fully developed. So a while back you said you wanted to get religion out of politics. Well, how about we get politics out of every damn thing? Because that seems to be the problem. Because if somebody's brain's not fully developed and you're using fighting or aggressive words and you're taking stances and you're doing this, that, and the other. I mean, we send our kids off at 18 years old. We say their brains are not fully developed, but then we send them to people that develop their brains to kill people. So they're only going to see one ideology. Why don't we open up people's hearts and realize that people are hurting and are damaged, and we need to quit worrying about all this BS, because basically if you don't go to college and you're not making $1 million by the time you're 30, you're a piece of crap.
You know something?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Donald, I'm going to start calling you a progressive. Sometimes you come up with such great progressive thought processes. Now, let me tell you something else that's quite interesting. The brain is not developed at 25. Why can't, is according to you, I'll take your word at it. So why do we allow someone to not be able to drink at 18, but could go get an AR-15 at 18? They can go ahead and get a AR. You know, I mean, it makes no sense then, right? Don't you agree with that then? If the brain.
Well, yes, you don't need AR-15s. I told you the range is only like 100 yards or 2 city blocks.
Yeah, and which is even more dangerous because you can kill people.
So the bullets are going everywhere, and
Yeah.
I mean it's ridiculous because they make them into a military style. So this is the problem.
Yeah.
People with no balls, they carry handguns, they carry this, that, the other. It makes them feel more like a person, like they have power. We need to empower the people to not be violent, and we need to start educating people that it's just ridiculous. If you want to we don't fist fight anymore. We take bullies out of school, but now we bully a different way with social media and everything else. Why do you think the kid didn't have social media? He already got bullied at school, and then he goes on social media to be bullied because everybody gives this false sense of life is good, life is great. Look at my Facebook page, all this other garbage.
All right, Donald, let me. I want to go to Brian. Donald, I want to go to Brian. Brian said yesterday we don't give him enough time, and I told him to call early. Thank you, Donald. Let's talk later. Okay, Brian, you falsely accused me of not giving you time, but you did call earlier today. Speak.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you never give me enough time. You just gave Donald how many minutes?
2 minutes.
3.5. No, 3.5. I watched the clock.
I just watched it, but if you say 3.5, maybe you started it before I did. But go ahead, brother.
Yeah. So now it's the gun culture that's incorrect on the Republican side, right?
It's not now. It's always has been. But go ahead.
Okay, now Anthony Scalise, judge, right? Now,
Yes.
who was
Yes.
the senator from Kentucky that was almost killed by a shooter playing softball? He was a
No,
Republican.
it wasn't. It wasn't from Kentucky. It was from Louisiana. That was Scalise playing playing baseball.
No. He was from Kentucky, I believe. Okay, well, anyway.
No, Scalise is from Louisiana, sir. I know this stuff. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, bottom line, who did the shooting? It was a Democrat.
It was somebody who supported Bernie Sanders. That's who did the shooting.
Yeah, so it's not a Republican. Okay.
No, it was not.
Oh, okay, yeah, but you always make it sound like it's the Republicans that are doing the shooting. The mass
No.
majority of people getting killed by okay. Pretty pointless, right?
I'm
Maybe
letting you
thing
speak.
No, you're cutting me off. Now, who was the girl that was transitioning to a boy that shot and killed the 3 children and the 2 supervisors at the church in Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee? She was a gay woman. You always make it sound like it's the Republicans that are killing people because they love their guns. The mass majority of people getting shot are inner city black youths. Look it up.
All right. Let's go ahead and qualify what you're saying. First of all, number one, shootings and violence have a socioeconomic component. That's number one. Number two, no black neighborhood or Latino neighborhood where there's more of a preponderance of shooting because of socioeconomic effects manufacture guns. Think about that. None of these people manufacture guns. None of these people have all the wherewithal for it. So you have to ask yourself, how comes there is so many guns prevalent in these communities? They don't manufacture drugs. They don't manufacture guns. I won't get into the other subject that needs to be gotten into for the crime wave within the inner city. But you notice how it's like caged in? As people worry about violence, it's really not violence in the rest of America. It's violence in these different tiny areas where you watch TV every day. And in those particular areas in the state or the country or the city, you have violence. You go to Appalachia, you see the same thing. So again, that kind of violence is socioeconomically indicated. That's a statement of fact. Now, I never said, including in the blog that I wrote yesterday, that you won't have a lefty using violence or a gun, etc. I said the preponderance of the actions are from the right because of the ideology of the right. And that is verifiable, provable, and calculable. This is not a question, Brian. It's a fact. It's a statement of fact. So I gave you your 3.5 minutes, my brother, and I will hear from you. I know tomorrow, but I gave you the time to let out to speak in your piece. So thank you, my brother.
Ridiculous statement that drugs are not manufactured in black neighborhoods. That is a ridiculous statement.
Oh, it's a statement of fact. But thank you, Brian. I gotta let you go. It's a statement of fact. Let's go ahead and go to Bart. Come on in, Bart.
Yes, sir. Good morning. I just want to stick to the shooter here. From what I heard,
yes,
the FBI can't get the FBI can't get into his phone because it's locked.
No, they did yesterday.
Oh, they did yesterday. Well, last I heard, they said he acted alone. So how do you know he acted alone? This guy. You think this guy did this by himself?
All the evidence seems to be that he did it by himself. But you know what? Let me tell you what I said before the phone and all of that. And those of you that are listening, I was just speculating here, and that's all. So don't take this as anything other than speculation. But in my when I allowed my mind to be warped, I said a Republican dude that doesn't have a lot of friends going after the president. You won't have somebody on the left wanting to give any sympathy to the president. Maybe those people who really don't like the guy will try to take the guy out. And that's what I thought. But again, I have no evidence for that at all. But that's all. Anyway, Bart, anything else before I go to Linda?
The narrative is this guy's a Republican kid, lone shooter. It's not. It's a deep state assassination attempt. They missed,
Okay.
and we were this close to having Haley shoved down our throat, and luckily we're
Okay.
not. All of
All
us
right.
are going to have
Bart,
President.
Bart. I've spoken to you so many times, and I've known you to be a smart person. I don't know how you allow yourself to get into the deep state crap, but we'll talk about that another time. I got to go to Linda. Thank you very much, Bart. Let's go to Linda.
Good morning. I want to say that for adults that refuse to accept the truth, that's fine. But I was listening to NPR yesterday, and something dawned on me. There was someone mentioned how 15 years
Uh-oh.
old.
Let me stop you a second, Linda. I guess the way you're holding your Linda, let me stop you a second. Linda,
Mhm.
let me stop you a second. You're constantly hitting your keyboard. I can hear interruption with your like if you're hitting the number keys.
No, I apologize. I said that my heart goes out for the young people because on NPR I was listening. Someone mentioned how when all of this all of this hate and rhetoric started, that kid was 8 years old. There's a generation of children that is growing up with this is all they know when it comes to politics. They understand violence and killing, and they don't understand the truth. We have a serious problem because there's a whole new generation that's coming up that do not have a clue about the truth, right from wrong, or even what the Constitution says or do not say, because they're growing up in a generation where they're being told lies and they think that the lies are the truth. And the adults that's pushing this stuff, they need to be held accountable. We are in trouble.
Let me tell you, Linda, I'm glad that you said that. I want you to hear this, right? We try as parents to tell our kids they need to do right. We tell our kids that they need to follow the law. We tell our kids all of that. And the representation that many want to put as the representative of what everything the US represent is a man who has raped women, abused women, stole from charities, lied continuously, goes ahead and ripped people off who worked for him. I mean, all these illegal things that he did, steal confidential information. I mean, that is the person many would want to put up on the pedestal to represent who America is. And then we turn around and look at our kids and say, you need to do the right thing. You need to do the right thing. I want folks to understand that. I want you to listen to Linda. When Linda says we are in trouble because our kids are watching, and then for all of you that support a person that it's not that they have many flaws, it's that they have done all these illegal things. All these illegal things. I want you to be cognizant that you are being a promoter of people who do wrong. Continue, please, Linda. I think we lost Linda. Uh, let's go ahead and. Oh, are you still? No, she's still there. Go ahead, Linda.
Oh, no, I'm finished. Go ahead, please. I'm finished.
Thank you so kindly. Let's go ahead and go to Harry. Come on in, Harry.
Good morning, Roberto. Good morning, Howard, and good morning, Jack. Well, for what you've been saying all show long, about the ideology of the Republican ideology with the guns and stuff. Now, I seem to recall, Roberto, that as long as I've been following this, it's the National Rifle Association. When Republicans have elections, they contribute heavily to that. Donald Trump has spoken at some of their conferences. They don't speak, they're not contributing to the left or the Democrats. And then another thing, a point I'm going to make is when I was on Hugh Talk yesterday talking to John and talking to Mike, Joe, who called earlier, was blaming KPFT, the people who are progressive, on KPFT, like the Mayor of Politics Done Right, and some of the other callers, is why this young man was able to shoot and almost assassinate former President Trump. And I just think that's irresponsible for him.
Let me stop you, Harry. Stop right there. Stop right there for me. Thank you, because I need to expand on what you just said. That is the marching orders that they all receive. The marching orders that they all receive is a Republican used an AR-15, the things that are supported, Republican AR-15, use the AR-15. Let's project. Remember, that's what they do. Let's project our faults onto Democrats and put them on the defensive. And that is the blog I wrote yesterday. Don't fall for it. You have to attack immediately. Because right now, so shall you sow, so shall you reap. And that is what we're looking at. Real quick, give me about another 30 seconds, Harry.
Amen to that, Iberto. Well, the other thing I was going to say was Florida, when Jack talked about that judge dismissing the documents case that with all the unclassified documents that Trump took down there. Now, is there going to be an appeal? Is the case done, or is Donald Trump going to get away?
No. There's going to be an appeal. There's going to be appeal, but I want to tie all this in with what Linda had to say. The corruption in our federal system is showing a lot of our kids that certain types of privileges afford you to skirt the law, and if that beliefs become prevalent, everybody will be skirting the law. I got to go to Michelle because we're running out of time, Harry. I thank you so kindly for your call, my brother.
We'll talk some more tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Let's go to Michelle. Michelle, come on in.
Hey, good morning. It's Michael.
Michael, thank you, Michael. Come on in.
Yes, sir. Hey, real quick, I wanted to comment off of Bart's the piece that Bart mentioned, and bring it back to a mental health issue, because on one side he says, how do you know he's acted alone? You have no evidence of that. And then immediately after, he goes into this deep state psychosis, which I think Trump has been able to tap into in the United States. And I'd have more respect for Trump if he did that on purpose, but he kind of clumsily bumped into that opportunity. And I think this is what we're dealing with a lot of people, where, he's tapped into that, and unfortunately he's been able to take advantage of some declining mental health issues. And I'm not saying that that gentleman is, mentally ill. I'm just saying that I think we have something to think about along those lines.
Michael, I think you nailed it. But look, let me just say, I think people, when I was a homophobe, when I was a sexist, I was mentally ill because I wasn't functioning correctly. I will say it for myself before I say it on others. I was mentally ill because the calculations that I did that told me it was okay to hold a prejudice on these issues made absolutely no sense. Just like the followers of Donald Trump on the policies and the items Donald Trump stands for. They're not coherent, they're not logical, but a lot of people have fallen for it. That makes them have a mental wiring issue. There are some that are following Donald Trump simply for financial gain. They know that he's going to tax the whole, or rather, he's going to cut taxes for a lot of wealthy people, and he's going to snow the poor people in Appalachia and elsewhere. I am for you, but in the process, he's going to screw them all. I told in my blog yesterday, all of you folks that are voting for Donald Trump, you're voting for your own demise. And I don't mean a demise that you're going to see right away. You're going to vote for the lack of future that you will have. Continue, please, Michael.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because maybe it's a combination of, declining mental health in the country and, it's a personal growth thing. It's the ability to be able to grow as a society and acceptance. I think anybody who's run a small business or an operation understands that you can't run production either in revenue or in morale. You can't do that with pushing people back. It just doesn't work. You have to do things different. So that's off your point.
Thank you very much, Michael. You're making a hell of a lot of sense. And again, like I said, I make sure to put things on me before I put it on others. So yes, I was mentally ill when I had those prejudices. Those who have the current ones are in fact mentally ill. Thank you so kindly, Michael. Let's go to Margaret. Come on in, Margaret.
Hi. I was calling because it's not always mental illness. People don't have options. All your options of your life, whatever it is you want to do, are being reduced. They're taking the rights away, and those are your options. Thank you.
Thank you so kindly for that, Margaret. That could not be more true. And I think that falls in line with much of what we're saying. Anyway, I got to get out of here. So before I want to thank everybody, I want to throw it real quick to Howard and Jack for 30 seconds.
Oh, nothing from me. Just have a good day, folks. Jack, you got something?
Yeah, guns don't kill people. Angry, rageful people with guns is who kills. They have used Second Amendment rhetoric and pseudo-patriotism to incite violence between the left and the right, period.
Exactly. Thank you so kindly. My name is, first of all, thank you all my listeners. Thank you all my callers. Love you all. Whether I agree with you or not, I thank you for being here. Please continue to be here. Tell others about us. You know you have a platform. We had a lot to cover that we didn't cover because you come first. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter to go ahead and get the rest of the show. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!